5 strangers just ambushed my truck, demanding $15,000. I'd barely parked at my new Serenity Cove cabin when these HOA enforcers swarmed my property like they were raiding a drug den. "Your lake privileges are suspended," the brunette woman barked, her smile as fake as a $3 bill. "Pay up now or face severe legal repercussions." I'm standing there in my work boots, my moving boxes still piled in the truck, thinking these people are completely unhinged. They're demanding I pay them just to exist in my own home. Little did they know, they just messed with the wrong guy. Drop a comment below with what state you're reading from. You won't believe what happens next. Let me rewind a bit. I'm Caleb Monroe, 34, fresh off the nastiest divorce you can imagine. My ex took everything: the house, the cat, even my favorite whiskey glass. All I kept was my wits, and those were barely holding on. I'm a welder by trade, scraping by for years to afford my own place. When Aunt Clara passed and left me her lakeside cabin, it felt like a gift from the universe. The lawyer said it was mine, no strings, no debts. A clean slate. What could possibly go wrong, right? So there I am, pulling into my new driveway after a 10-hour drive, bone-tired and dreaming of a cold beer by the water. Instead, I'm greeted by what looks like a suburban hit squad. The brunette, Karen, is clearly the boss. Her voice drips with that saccharine venom every working guy knows to dodge. Behind her are 4 others, armed with clipboards and smugness. I kid you not, one of them, a guy named Greg, is measuring my truck's wheelbase with a tape measure. I'm talking precision to the millimeter, muttering about community guidelines. "Mr. Monroe," Karen purrs, her smile sharpening like a knife. "Your Aunt Clara had a unique arrangement with our association. Sadly, that died with her. You now owe $15,000 in urgent lake maintenance fees, plus $4,000 in yearly HOA dues. And you'll need to sign this covenant." She hands me a stack of papers thicker than a phone book, loaded with rules crazier than a tax audit. No trucks parked past 7 p.m. No barbecues without approval. No fishing without a permit. Are these people for real? Meanwhile, her crew treats my property like it's a crime scene. A woman named Linda is snapping photos of my truck's mud flaps because they're non-compliant. Another guy, Phil, is using a laser level to check if my mailbox is regulation height. I'm watching this madness unfold, wondering if I've stumbled into a cult. Then there's Tom, counting my trash bins and measuring their distance from the road with a ruler. I'm thinking, what is wrong with these lunatics? "Look," I say to Karen, keeping my voice steady, "there's got to be a mix-up. I bought a non-HOA property. That's why I picked this place. I've had enough chaos in my life, and I just want to live quietly by the lake." Her smile vanishes faster than a free lunch at a job site. "Mr. Monroe, your aunt may have misinformed you about this property's status. We have records proving it's under our authority. You have 48 hours to pay, or we'll pursue legal action." Legal action? I just got here. My stuff's still in the truck, and this woman's already threatening to drag me to court. I'm standing there, covered in road grime, and they're treating me like I'm running a meth lab. It's so absurd I almost laugh. But Karen's eyes tell me she's not joking, she's deadly serious, convinced she can shake me down for $15,000 on day one. Then I notice something odd. Karen's driving a shiny BMW crossover with temporary dealer tags, like she's borrowing it or can't afford the plates. Her official HOA clipboard has real estate business cards clipped to it, her name in bold. The whole thing feels like a rehearsed shakedown, like they've pulled this stunt before. Greg finishes measuring my truck and declares, "Vehicle exceeds parking clearance by 4.2 inches. I stare at him and say, "Buddy, it's my driveway." He blinks like I'm speaking Martian. After 20 minutes of this insanity, Karen wraps up her performance. "We expect payment in 48 hours, Mr. Monroe. Cash or cashier's check only, no personal checks." She hands me a business card with her realty logo. "For your convenience, I can recommend properties outside our community. Some find it simpler to relocate than comply." It's not advice, it's a threat. As they pack up their gear and clipboards, I'm left standing there, wondering what just hit me. These people rolled up like a gated community cartel, demanding protection money, and they genuinely believe they're in the right. That night, I'm sitting on Aunt Clara's creaky porch, sipping a beer, staring at the lake. It's gorgeous, Exactly what I pictured during those long nights in my dingy apartment. But now I'm wondering if I'll lose it before I even unpack. Karen's threats echo in my head. Legal action, 48 hours, $15,000. It's a nightmare. That's when I decide to poke around the cabin. Aunt Clara was a hoarder, and the basement stuffed with old radios and filing cabinets. Most of it's junk, but one cabinet's locked with a combo lock. Taped to it is a note in Clara's handwriting. Caleb, if you're reading this, they've come for you too. Your birthday backwards opens it. Check the red folder file. My pulse races as I dial the numbers. What did Aunt Clara stash in that cabinet that could flip this HOA ambush and make these 5 clipboard warriors regret ever stepping onto my property? I'm back in Uncle Joe's basement, flashlight in hand, staring at a combination lock on an old filing cabinet. I punch in my birthday reversed, 581,780, and the lock pops open like it was waiting for me. Inside, I find a stack of documents that hits me like a lightning bolt. 38 boat dock rental contracts, each signed, each worth $2,800 a year. I'm no math genius, but that's over $100,000 in annual revenue. The real shocker? Every contract has Uncle Joe's name as the property owner, and every renter is a neighbor from this lake community. I'm sitting on the cold basement floor, holding proof that I control the rental rights to every boat dock on this lake. These aren't just scraps of paper, they're notarized, legally binding agreements dating back 15 years. Some of these folks have been renting dock space from Uncle Joe since I was cramming for college exams. Yet here they are, trying to hit me with a $12,000 bill to live in my own house. The irony's so rich it could fund a yacht. I'm not their mark, I'm their landlord. But it gets juicier. Flipping through the contracts, I spot Diane's name. She's got a triple-wide premium dock space, $2,800 a year, same as the rest. Except her file shows she hasn't paid a cent in 3 years. So the HOA president, who's been strong-arming me for cash, owes me over $8,000 in back rent. This woman's got some serious gall. The next morning, Diane rolls up right on cue with her community legal mediator, a guy named Mike decked out in a fancy suit, swinging a briefcase like he's auditioning for a courtroom drama. They've got an inspection team in tow, armed with clipboards and cameras, acting like they're busting a crime ring. Mr. Walker, Diane declares, we're here to perform a mandatory compliance inspection. We've identified potential safety violations requiring immediate action. I watch them measure my lawn like it's a crime scene and snap photos of my bird feeder like it's a smoking gun. Mike's rattling off jargon about community safety standards and compliance protocols, but it's all a charade. They're trying to bully me into paying their absurd fees. If I hadn't found Uncle Joe's treasure trove, I might have bought their act. Instead, I'm stifling a laugh as they critique the alignment of my flower boxes. While they're playing CSI Suburbia, I'm on the phone with David Collins, a property lawyer. His $500 consultation fee stings, but I need to know my standing. David reviews the contracts and confirms they're airtight, backed by state law. Then he drops a bombshell. My property includes riparian water rights, meaning I own 200 feet of lake water extending from my shoreline. Every dock on this lake? It's on my water. You're in a rock-solid legal position, David says. Anyone using those docks without your permission is trespassing. I'm practically hearing a choir of angels. I don't just own the dock rentals, I own the water itself. It's like hitting the jackpot and finding out your rival's stuck with the bill. After hanging up, I dig into Diane's dealings. Public records are a goldmine if you know where to look. Turns out, Diane runs Lakeside Luxury Estates, a development company planning a big project on our lake, 12 high-end homes, priced from $400,000 to $600,000 each. The catch? The project hinges on exclusive lake access to lure wealthy buyers. Suddenly, it clicks. Diane's not just an HOA tyrant squeezing the new guy, she's a developer who needs control of this lake to make her millions. My dock rentals and water rights? They're a direct threat to her empire. No wonder she's desperate to push me out. That afternoon, while Diane's team is still poking around my yard, an older neighbor, Frank Murphy, strolls over. Son, he says, I'm a retired cop, lived here 20 years. I've been waiting a decade for someone to take her on. Frank's got dirt on Diane that'd make your head spin. Stories of harassment, fake legal threats, and strong-arming families into selling their homes cheap. The Hendersons? Run out 3 years ago after Diane hit them with bogus violations, forcing them to sell for $60,000 below market. The Lees and Browns? Same deal. Diane's MO is clear: target, torment, then buy low. I knew about Joe's doc contracts, Frank admits. He showed me years ago when Diane tried to bully him. But I figured his nephew should find them himself. It's what Joe would have wanted. Frank's been biding his time, watching Diane ruin lives, waiting for someone with the guts to fight back. Well, Diane, your wait's over. As the sun dips over my lake, I'm on the porch, plotting my next move. I could wave those contracts in her face, but why tip my hand? Let her keep digging her own grave with every threat and lie. She thinks she's cornering some broke electrician who'll cave to her $25,000 lawsuit. She has no idea what Uncle Joe's paperwork is about to unleash. 3 days later, Diane turns the heat up to 11. I find a glossy flyer under my door: Emergency Neighborhood Safety Meeting. Protect our community lake. It's got fancy lake photos and charts about property values, screaming money and manipulation. The meeting's tonight at 7 p.m. and it's strongly encouraged for all concerned residents. Over coffee, I'm almost impressed by Diane's tactics. She's not just coming for me, she's rallying the whole neighborhood against me. The flyer paints me as a menace, claiming I'm planning commercial boat traffic, noise pollution, and property value destruction. By noon, more flyers are circulating, accusing me of launching boat rentals, fishing tournaments, and jet ski chaos. Neighbors who waved yesterday now avoid me like I'm radioactive. Kids get yanked indoors when I pass by. Diane's turned me into the neighborhood villain, and she's just getting started. Harassment can escalate quickly, and in this neighborhood, it's a masterclass in creativity. First, a building inspector shows up with a clipboard that could double as a novel, citing me for $800 in unpermitted electrical work because I plugged my tools into a garage outlet. Then, a $600 fine lands for improper waste disposal, since my trash pickup supposedly violates vague community standards. They even slapped me with a $400 noise violation for testing Uncle Joe's vintage radio at 2 p.m. Daytime, mind you. When's a guy allowed to make a sound around here? The kicker is a $1,000 ticket for unauthorized business operation, because my work truck was parked in my own driveway past 6 p.m. I'm staring at this citation, thinking these people are living in an alternate reality. It's my property, my driveway, yet parking my truck is now a high crime. The inspector, stone-faced, informs me commercial vehicles are banned in residential zones after dark. I point out that half my neighbors drive pickups, and he shrugs, those are personal, not commercial. Meanwhile, the social shunning is a work of art. The grocery store clerk lets slip she's heard rumors about the troublemaking new neighbor me. Block party invites vanish, and I'm quietly booted from the neighborhood app where folks trade tips and gossip. It's psychological warfare, executed with precision. If I were just trying to blend in and live quietly, I'd be browsing real estate listings in another zip code by now. Frank, my one ally, still treats me like a person. Over coffee on his porch, he shares infuriating stories about Diane's past targets. 3 years back, the Hendersons got the same treatment: fake citations, legal fees, and relentless harassment until they sold their house for $60,000 below market value just to escape. Frank says Diane's got a playbook: target a newcomer or someone vulnerable, invent a crisis about property values or safety, and rally the neighborhood against them. The victim gets so isolated and worn down that selling seems like the only escape. That night, I decide to crash Diane's community meeting. The community center is stuffed with about 70 people, buzzing with lynch mob energy. Diane's set up like she's campaigning for office: projector, microphone, legal documents fanned out on tables. She's schmoozing the crowd, shaking hands, nodding at their property value worries. When the meeting starts, she delivers a performance worthy of an Oscar, preaching about safeguarding the community from external threats. Her PowerPoint flaunts property value stats and noise pollution charts, claiming my mere presence could tank home values by 30%. She calls for urgent action to save their idyllic neighborhood. The residents eat it up, nodding and murmuring as she paints me as a reckless outsider set to turn their lake into a commercial dump. When she opens the floor, hands fly up: how do we stop him? Can we make him leave? It's like watching a skilled con artist fleece a room of suckers. Then Diane drops her ace, a petition, signed by 45 neighbors, demanding I comply with their standards or relocate to a suitable area. They're convinced I'm a menace to their way of life. The meeting wraps with her ultimatum: accept their $180,000 offer for my $320,000 house within 48 hours or face legal consequences. It's theft dressed up as generosity, and the crowd thinks it's fair. As I leave, Frank catches me in the parking lot. "Don't let her get to you," he says softly. "She's done this before, but this time's different." When I ask why, he grins. "She picked the wrong guy." The next morning, I wake with a plan Uncle Joe would salute. Instead of caving to Diane's lowball offer, I'm going to turn the tables. I spend the day organizing Uncle Joe's dock rental contracts, making copies, and prepping for a moment that'll be sweeter than anything I've ever done. Diane's called another emergency meeting tonight, expecting me to slink in and accept her deal. She's in for a shock. I arrive 20 minutes late to a community center bursting with 80 people in a space meant for 50, some standing along the walls. Diane's in full show mode, projector, microphone, stacks of documents, and a designer suit that screams money. As I walk in with my plain manila folder, the room falls silent, like I'm stepping into my own trial. Diane's been priming them for weeks, convincing them I'm a threat to their perfect community. The air feels hostile, like a pack ready to pounce. Diane kicks off with a motion for emergency community protection, flashing slides with financial projections and legal jargon about forcing property sales for safety reasons. She claims my refusal to comply leaves them no choice but to seize my property through emergency assessment. It sounds official, which is her goal. "Mr. Walker has ignored our reasonable requests," she declares, voice dripping with authority, forcing us to protect our investment legally. She describes my plans for commercial havoc, and the crowd nods, fully buying that I'm their enemy. When she presents her $180,000 offer, some actually clap, thinking they're doing me a favor. Then it's my turn. I stand, clutching my folder, and every eye locks onto me. "Before you vote," I say, voice steady and loud, "let's talk about our boat dock rental situation." Confusion ripples through the room. Neighbors exchange baffled looks, whispering about what I mean. Diane's face drains of color, her smug smile gone. She knows something's coming but can't guess what. "Mr. Walker," she interjects, trying to steer the room back, but it's too late. I've got their attention, and what's in my folder is about to change everything. "This isn't the time or place for your dock grievances," Diane snaps, trying to shut me down. I open my manila folder, pulling out the first batch of contracts. "Actually, Diane, it's the perfect time and place. You see, every one of you is behind on boat dock rental payments to me." The room explodes in confusion. Neighbors whisper, baffled, as someone yells from the back, "What payments? Uncle Joe never charged us." Exactly the reaction I wanted. Holding up the original property deed, I explain how Uncle Joe's generosity let everyone use the docks for free, but their signed rental agreements are still legally binding. The room turns chaotic. People demand to see the contracts, asking how much they owe. Diane tries to restore order, but she's losing her grip. Frank stands up, declaring, "I witnessed those agreements signed 15 years ago. They're real." Now for the fun part. I read the numbers: 38 docks at $2,800 per year each, totaling over $100,000 in annual rental income. The real bombshell? Diane's triple-wide premium dock owes me $8,000 in back rent. The crowd goes wild, shouting questions and turning on Diane. "Why didn't you mention these contracts while rallying us against him?" someone demands. Another voice asks, "Did you know about this all along?" Diane, flustered, claims the documents are fake and calls for an investigation. I'm ready, pulling out county records, the 1960s deed, and survey documents proving I own the water under every dock. The irony hits hard. They're trying to force me to sell my $320,000 house for $180,000 while owing me over $100,000. Suddenly, I'm not the villain. I'm the guy who's been too generous. I lay out my terms: 30 days to get dock permits and pay $2,400 annually, below market rate, because I'm fair to those unaware of Joe's deals. The alternative? I cut off dock access, tanking their property values. Most seem relieved, but Diane fights back, accusing me of extortion and threatening lawsuits. The crowd's not buying it. They're questioning why she never mentioned the contracts during her campaign against me. As the meeting ends, Diane storms out, yelling, "This community will fight you. Our lawyers will prove those documents are fake." But fear flickers in her eyes. She knows she's been exposed, and her scheme is crumbling. She doesn't realize I'm already ahead of her next move. Cornered animals get desperate, and Diane's in the tightest corner yet. The next morning, she goes full scorched earth. At 7 a.m., 2 cops show up, claiming I was trespassing with surveying equipment and threatening residents. In my pajamas, coffee in hand, I explain I was just measuring my own property. The officers check records on their tablets, confirm my ownership, and tell the complainant, obviously Diane, to stop wasting their time. Then an EPA inspector arrives, tipped off about electronic waste in the lake, only to find my crime is testing radios in my garage. He leaves, muttering, "Someone's got it out for you." This is the dumbest complaint I've seen all year. Next, a building inspector cites me for unpermitted dock modifications I never made, followed by a health department claim that my septic system is polluting the lake. It's a barrage of nonsense, and I'm documenting every fake complaint and citation. Frank's been sleuthing, too. He connects me with Sarah Williams, a county investigator digging into Diane's activities and dock rental history. Frank shares how Diane tried to bypass property owner consent for lake access months ago. The timeline clicks. Diane's been plotting this land grab for over a year, long before I arrived. Frank uncovers financial records showing Diane's company got a $480,000 investor advance 8 months ago to secure lake access for a luxury home project. Instead, she spent it on personal expenses, credit card bills, a Mercedes lease, home upgrades, and legal fees from past harassment campaigns. She's been living off investor money while promising something she doesn't control. It gets worse. While I'm dodging her fake complaints, Diane's scamming her investors again, claiming she's close to resolving lake access issues and needs $120,000 more. They send it, and she funnels it into her personal accounts to cover legal costs from her war against me. This isn't just HOA bullying anymore, it's wire fraud, securities fraud, and federal crimes with serious prison time. Frank notes that defrauding investors across state lines gets the FBI's attention fast. Diane's not just fighting me, she's up against the U.S. justice system. The neighborhood's mood is shifting. People who wanted me gone 2 weeks ago are now questioning their HOA president. Mrs. Henderson, one of Diane's past victims, starts sharing her own story, and the cracks in Diane's facade are growing. Mrs. Henderson, one of Diane's past victims, starts telling neighbors her story. 3 years ago, Diane targeted her family with the same tactics: harassment, fake violations, community pressure, and a lowball buyout offer. The pattern is undeniable once exposed. The real breakthrough comes when investigator Sarah Williams uncovers Diane's political ties. The building inspector who cited me for plugging in tools? Rick Hoffman, brother-in-law of City Councilman Gerald Hoffman, who got $15,000 in campaign funds from Diane's company over 2 years. The fire marshal who flagged safety violations? He owes Diane from a past real estate deal. This isn't just one corrupt HOA president, it's a network of bought-off officials. Evidence piles up fast. Security footage shows Diane's team trespassing, damaging my landscaping, and tampering with my electrical meter. Recorded calls capture vague threats of consequences if I don't comply. Every fake complaint she files leaves a trail back to her or her associates. Frank, with his retired cop savvy, advises me over coffee. People like Diane think they're untouchable. They get sloppy, make mistakes, and hang themselves. Just stay patient and document everything. My patience is tested when Diane shows up with her loyalists, demanding a meeting to resolve our issues. It lasts 5 minutes before she's screaming that I'm ruining the neighborhood and threatening years of lawsuits. "You don't know who you're dealing with," she yells, storming off. But she's unaware that state investigators are building a case with phone records, financials, and witness statements proving her systematic fraud. That evening, an investigator calls, "Mr. Walker, we'd like you to serve as a witness against Diane Blackwood and her associates." The offer is unexpected. Helping take her down could disrupt the community I'm trying to save. The federal investigation's results are staggering. Diane didn't just embezzle $480,000. She siphoned $380,000 from multiple sources over 18 months, committing wire fraud, securities fraud, filing false police reports, and conspiracy. Her investors, who sank $600,000 into promised lake access and exclusive development rights, are livid. Their money funded her luxury cars and legal fees for harassing neighbors. Their lawsuit seeks $600,000 in damages, potentially doubling with lost opportunity costs. The community demands answers at an emergency HOA meeting with 90 residents packed in. The mood has flipped. They're not mad at me anymore. They're furious at Diane for manipulating them. Frank takes the stage, presenting a decade of evidence showing Diane targeting vulnerable homeowners, creating fake crises, and profiting from forced sales. The Hendersons, Lees, and Browns all endured her schemes. She turned our neighborhood into her personal piggy bank, Frank says, silencing the room. Mrs. Henderson's story is gut-wrenching. Diane accused her family of violating standards over a teen's birthday party parking issue, escalating into months of citations, threats, and pressure until they sold their home $60,000 below market value to Diane's shell company. The crowd's reaction is swift. Neighbors who backed Diane apologize publicly. We should have questioned her motives, one admits. Fear blinded us, says another. A motion to oust Diane as HOA president passes 87-3, with only her family voting against. I offer a fair path forward, new dock rental agreements at $2,400 per year, below market rate, with permits, insurance, and lake maintenance. It protects the environment and benefits everyone. 90% of residents sign on. Diane's loyalists refuse, unable to admit they were duped. They can leave. Diane's world collapses. The real estate board revokes her license for fraud and fiduciary breaches. Her company is dissolved, assets frozen for victim restitution. Her Mercedes is repossessed, her house faces foreclosure, and she's filing for bankruptcy amid federal charges. The charges are serious: wire fraud for defrauding investors across state lines, securities fraud for false property rights promises, conspiracy with co-conspirators, and false police reports as part of harassment. She faces 3 to 5 years in prison minimum. Meanwhile, a legitimate developer offers me $60,000 annually to lease lake access for 8 eco-friendly lakefront homes. Diane's dream, but she won't see a cent. The community transforms. New HOA leadership prioritizes transparency and real improvements. Property values rise 15% as our reputation for fairness spreads. Quality families move in, drawn by our integrity. Financially, I'm set: $95,760 from dock rentals plus $60,000 from the lease, over $150,000 in passive income. I can work part-time as an electrician, choosing projects I love, and finally live the quiet lake life I envisioned. Frank and I have become true friends through this ordeal, sharing morning coffee on his porch, swapping stories, and watching the lake sunrise. He's the father figure I never had, brimming with wisdom about life, justice, and standing up to bullies. "You know what I'm proudest of," he says one morning. "You could have weaponized those contracts, but you chose to help everyone." Diane's final court appearance is a spectacle. She arrives in a cheap outfit, broke and desperate, begging for a plea deal. Federal prosecutors, unmoved by her history of crimes, secure a 4-year prison sentence and $650,000 in restitution to victims and investors. As she's led away in handcuffs, Diane glares at me, hissing, "You have no idea what you've done," as if I'm the villain. But I know exactly what I've done. Her final words hint at a twist nobody anticipated. 2 years later, I'm living the lake life I always dreamed of. I wake in Uncle Joe's renovated cottage to water lapping the shore and Frank's footsteps for our coffee ritual. Uncle Joe's vintage radios, proudly displayed, hum jazz across the water each evening, a tranquility money can't buy, but patience and documentation can. Diane serving year 2 of her sentence in a minimum security prison 3 hours away, working laundry and studying retail management by correspondence. The once powerful developer is now folding sheets for pennies, buried under restitution she'll never repay. Her fraud conviction makes employment a fantasy. The community's healing is remarkable. Our new HOA leadership is transparent, meetings recorded, decisions voted on, funds tracked publicly. Property values are up 15%, not from manipulation but from our reputation for fairness. Families move in, kids play by the water, and neighbors genuinely care. Frank's like family now, his 70-year-old energy outpacing men half his age. Over coffee, he shares cop stories, I share my messy divorce tales, and he says, "You didn't just win, you showed character." Financially, I'm golden, 34 dock rentals at $2,400 bring $81,600 yearly, plus $60,000 from a developer's lake access lease. Their 8 eco-friendly homes, Diane's vision, done right, enhance our community. I do electrical work for fun now, not survival. The lake thrives with rental fees funding maintenance, cleaner water, returning wildlife like ducks, herons, and beavers. Uncle Joe would love this ecosystem. Love found me too in Linda, the librarian who helped research property laws during the fight. She believed in me when others didn't. We're taking it slow, but sunset dinners on the dock feel special. Diane's vision succeeded without her. The developers followed my environmental guidelines, built with community input, and sold premium homes to families who value stewardship. Uncle Joe's legacy shines through letters I found in the cottage. I knew the right person would finish what I started. You've got Walker stubbornness and patience. The lake's yours. Care for it. I've become a local expert on HOA abuse, helping other communities fight corruption. Last month, I testified in a case 3 counties away against an HOA targeting elderly residents for luxury development. My stories in regional papers, inspiring calls from others. Mr. Walker, we heard what you did. Can you help us? Frank and I jokingly call our work an HOA consulting service, teaching people to document harassment and know their rights. Last month, Diane's prison invited me to a restorative justice program for her apology. I declined, not out of spite, but because her regret feels hollow. She had years to choose right over greed and didn't. Our annual lake barbecue draws 50 families, a symbol of unity. Last year, the new HOA president thanked me publicly for rooting out corruption and showing true leadership. Kids grow up in a fair neighborhood, a stark contrast to Diane's reign. As I sit on my dock with Frank's old fishing rod, Linda reading beside me, I'm content. The lake is peaceful, as it should be. Uncle Joe's words ring true. Patience and truth always win. The best revenge isn't vengeance. It's living well while karma delivers justice. My battle's echoes? Document everything, know your rights, and never let bullies intimidate you. If this story resonates, share your own in the comments. Have you seen karma work this perfectly? Thanks for joining Echo Stories. Stay tuned for another tale of justice served, and keep standing up for what's yours.